I'll spare your life at the very least, as thanks for doing so well in saving her from the bandits. Sweet, I'm gonna survive this. I feel like she's looking down on me pretty hard, but whatever. As long as she's not my enemy. I mean, her feet are super pretty. There's not a single bad person in the world with pretty feet. Actually, sorry, that's not true at all. There's a lot of villains that like to step on people with their sexy feet. Right. Very well. Let us have a dungeon battle. I'll recognize you as her master if you can defeat me. Ha! There's another word I don't know. And my tedious radar is beeping like crazy. Please no. I took a deep breath. Calm down. Calm down. What is a dungeon battle? It's a competition. Yes, a competition where dungeons attempt to invade each other. There are many rules, but let's start with the basics. The most fundamental rules are that the dungeons connect their entrances with space-time magic and proceed to send an army of monsters into each other. Whoever reaches the other's core first wins. Simple, isn't it? Putting aside the space-time magic stuff, the rules certainly were simple. Though accepting her challenge was completely out of the question. First of all, I will loan you 100,000 DP to use. I will then make a new branch dungeon the same size as your ordinary cave, and then develop it using 100,000 DP as well. You will win if you can touch the dummy core within it. Ah, and by the way, you can keep the DP if you win. I'll even reward your victory with an extra 100,000. What do you think? These conditions seem pretty biased in our favor. How could the ordinary cave, a safe and beginner-friendly dungeon perfect for up-and-coming adventurers. Field trips to see the dungeon core are available. Ever hope to beat her? The Ivory Labyrinth, a legendary dungeon located deep within the ancient Laverio Empire's capital city. Haku was on a completely different level than us. At best, we had less than 0.5% chance of winning. And I still hadn't heard what would happen if I lost. And if you win, Haku? Fufufu. I'll have you repay the DP I lent you. With your body. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. You'll just have to work in my dungeon as an adventurer. I'll set you free once you've earned 100,000 DP and offered it up to me. You have my word that I will take care of number 695 myself until you've repaid your debt. These conditions are unreasonably favorable to you, so I'm sure you'll accept my challenge. You will, won't you? She was right. The conditions were in our favor. We'd get 100,000 DP right off the bat, and we could use it to grow our dungeon in any way that we pleased. But think about it from my perspective. A single goblin was worth 20 DP, but actually defeating them in the dungeon would only earn back 2 DP. Assuming that logic held true for all monsters, I would need to beat 50,000 goblins to earn 100,000 DP. At best, I would need to beat 10 low-ranked dragons. Just how long would that even take? Wait, hold on. Would killing monsters even count as offering up DP? Monsters cost DP to summon. Wouldn't killing them just make my debt even worse? Holy crap. After all, dungeon masters and dungeon cores are the only things that can actually earn DP. Earning 100,000 DP as an adventurer sounds pretty difficult. Oh my, that wasn't my intention. In that case, I'll be satisfied with DP earned from battles as well. Are you suggesting that I work as a monster and as a player killer? In the legendary Ivory Labyrinth, where veteran adventurers from all over the world gather? Fufu. I do have some branch dungeons made to be suitable for beginners, you know. Haku giggled in blatant amusement. Yeah, I can't let my guard down around this person. Around this dungeon core. Very well. I will accept any DP you expend in any of my dungeons to be part of your repayment. How do you feel about that? I think that's much more fair. But what do you get from it? Under those rules, if I, for example, found and used a healing scroll, 100,000 DP, on myself, I would immediately have paid back my debt in full. DP does return to the mana stream after adventurers expend it, but that's merely a side benefit. The main benefit of you working my dungeons is that I get an excuse to take Rokuko to the capital and take care of her there personally while leaving guards to protect her dungeon. Under normal circumstances, she would never accept such a thing. Makes sense. She has a lot to gain if it comes to keeping Rokuko safe. You will accept this challenge. I do need to see whether you're a skilled enough dungeon master to truly protect number 695, after all. I guess turning her down was never in the cards for me. And that's what we discussed, number 695. We'll be having a dungeon battle. Eh? What's a dungeon battle, number 89? Wait, what? Seriously? You don't know that either? Haku and I explained the term to Rokuko. Wow, that sounds like fun. Though it is a competition, so we'll be fighting with DP on the line. I'll lend you your share of DP this time. Eh? You can share DP with me? How do you know so little about anything, Rokuko? I mean, I also didn't know about these things before, but that's totally different. And I wonder how DP is shared anyway. It's only natural that you didn't know that, number 695. You never had the opportunity to learn. The truth is DP is exchanged by kissing. It's true. We have to give each other a nice, long kiss. Moi. Really? Is that true, Chloe? No. If my memories are correct, a simple handshake would do well enough. I consulted the butler for confirmation and got a quick, firm answer. This is the first time number 695 has ever exchanged DP before, and I'm giving her an entire 100,000. It's important that we kiss so that none leaks out and is wasted by mistake. It's easy to make mistakes when you're doing something for the first time. Is it not wise for us to use the safest method here? That excuse is so obviously fake it hurts. 100,000? I can't take that much. I'm just lending it to you. And you'll need around that much to prepare for our battle. After all, this is a competition where we fight with DP as our everything. It would be boring for us both if you didn't have any DP, wouldn't it? This is just a simple handicap for me. We'll have to give it all back to her if we lose, so it really is just a loan. Go ahead and take it. And be sure to do exactly as Haku says when it comes to taking the DP from her. Okay. Thank you very much, number 89. I'll gladly accept your DP. What should I do to take the DP from you, number 89? Close your eyes, open your mouth just a little, and stick out your tongue. Yes, just like that. I realized halfway through saying, go ahead and take it, that my statements would probably be interpreted as orders that Rokuko had to obey due to my absolute authority. So, I added on that last bit about the DP exchanging to earn some brownie points. Haku's stealthily giving me a thumbs up. I guess a thumbs up means the same thing in this world too? I'll eat you, I'll give you the DP now. She was just about to say, I'll eat you up. Right. Haku locked her mouth against Rokuko's, making sure that their tongues touched as much as possible. She embraced Rokuko's trembling body and pulled her closer with her left hand, while using her right hand to lock her head in place. Rokuko looked nervous due to never having done something like that before, but she kept her eyes shut and entrusted her body to Haku. She was blushing bright red and would occasionally twitch as if some sensitive spot on her body was being touched. Haku had been going really slowly and taking her time, but apparently that was all just the beginning. She embraced Rokuko's head with both hands and moved her mouth, causing something, likely DP, to flow into her little sister's mouth. Rokuko pulled her head back in surprise, allowing me to briefly see a shining light between their tongues, but Haku soon pulled her head back. And so, that continued for about 10 more minutes. When their mouths finally separated, a string of saliva bridged the gap between their tongues before breaking apart. Fa. Ga ha. Nfa. Their expressions were entirely different. Rokuko was breathing heavily with her eyes shut, whereas Haku was smiling in satisfaction while licking her lips. The only thing they shared was their flushed cheeks and dreamy floatiness. A small amount leaked out, but I gave more than that as a bonus. Ha ha. Thank you so much. Number 89. Howa. Ufufa. Was your first DP exchange too much for you? That's fine. I'll keep holding on to you for as long as necessary, so rest well. Haku once again stealthily gave me a thumbs up behind her back. Yeah. That definitely means, good job, in this world too. I checked our DP while Rokuko rested her body against Haku's. 114-032 DP. The exchange certainly seemed to have gone well. I think we had 3,500 DP before this, so. Dang. The DP I worked my ass off to get with blood, sweat, and tears is equivalent to just a minor bonus, in Haku's eyes. Just how much DP does she earn a day? Seriously. By the way, Kaima. Do not even think about losing intentionally by not preparing for the battle. I won't accept the DP I just loaned you as a way to repay your debt. It has to be new DP. Oh snap, there goes that plan. Darn. I could have earned 10,000 DP for nothing, too. By the way, this is a gift from me. Haku gave me a copy of Intro to Dungeonology. I took a look at the author and saw that it had been written by Haku Laverio. Makes sense that a dungeon core would write a book about dungeons. This is probably the best source of information I could ask for. Humans believe many things that aren't quite true, so you should read this and be careful. Most of these are things I've thought up myself. One thing that's particularly popular amongst we cores is this section. Haku pointed her pale, white finger to a section in the book named Safe Zones. I glanced over it and saw that safe zones were described as, reasonably enough, safe places where monsters cannot enter. This is just an act on our part. We set up magic tools that appear to serve some kind of function and then order our monsters to never go into the area. That causes humans to let their guard down, thinking the area is completely safe. I get it. That's pretty smart. You could earn DP from the adventurers resting within your dungeon, but the best thing of all was that safe zones weren't safe at all. The adventurers would all have their guard completely down without any eyewitnesses. You could easily kill them all without leaving any evidence behind. Of course, since nobody would know that the adventurers had gone into the safe zone, everyone would just think they died normally in the dungeon. In a world as lacking in sources of information as this one, a book written by someone famous from the imperial capital would be about as reliable as you could get. Haku's basically manipulating them like the mass media manipulated people back on Earth. You have a lot to learn and much to prepare, so we can begin the battle in 3 days. Do your best, okay? Do you have enough time to go back to the capital? I walked here since my adventurer identity is weakened to match what humans would expect from me, but I do know teleport. Oh, and by the way, teleport scrolls cost 50 million DP. I thought we were going to connect our dungeons using space-time magic. That is actually a natural ability of dungeons, much like the menu. I dedicated several of my scientists to research it, but all they could figure out was that it was done through some form of space-time magic. All their research only resulted in us learning something that was obvious from the start. Isn't that odd? In my opinion, space-time magic is odd enough on its own, but okay. Well then, see you in 3 days. I'm looking forward to our battle. In the depth of my mind are memories of distant lands once traveled, forming a mental path from here to there. Fly through space, fly through time. There becomes here and here becomes there. Fuse, conjoin, connect. Teleport. Haku chanted in a sing-song voice, causing both her and Chloe to float up. Before a bright flash of intense light exploded around them. When the light faded, they had left nothing behind but a soft wind that brushed against our cheeks. Rokuko remained in a daze for some time after Haku left, but she came back to normal eventually. So, do you think we can win? For sure. The rules were designed to give us a chance. Though she has a pretty huge advantage over us. Rokuko looked surprised after hearing me say that. She seemingly didn't understand how Haku had an advantage. Really? I know that number 89 is really amazing, but she gave us a whole extra 10,000 DP to use, didn't she? She didn't mention resources she already had in the conditions at all. It'd be totally legal for her to bring out a dragon she had already placed in one of her dungeons, since that technically wouldn't be her using DP. She probably won't go that far, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if her monsters come swinging with magically enchanted weapons or something like that. Rokuko sighed and shook her head. Ha! Kaima, I don't know how you always find crazy loopholes like that. It's like impressive, but maybe not in a good way. Hey, that older sister you love so much made those rules with that loophole in mind. She intends to exploit it. That's what's really impressive here. I wouldn't expect anything less from number 89. Yep. She's basically a monster, and I do mean that in a good way. Alright then. Rokuko, meet. It's time to work. What were the first things I bought with my newfound 110,000 DP? Shovels and pickaxes, of course. Phew, we finished just in time. There are actually a few things we didn't do in time. This is why I said we should have just used DP to take care of everything. We needed that DP to summon monsters, though. You know that. My preparations had been very inclusive. We were ready both defensively and offensively. The focus of our strategy would just be racing straight towards the enemy's dungeon core. Phew. We had used a ton of DP. Despite all my efforts to cut down on costs, we had still ended up using close to 80,000 DP. But not a single one of those points had been wasted. I'm getting nostalgic for when I cared a lot about saving up like 200 DP. Wait a second, Kaima. What's with that pillow? Huh? This one? It's a heavenly pillow, 10,000 DP. What about it? Yep. 1/8 of the DP we had spent was on this baby. Hey, it wasn't a waste of DP or anything. This pillow is absolutely vital for helping me work efficiently and sleep effectively. This heavenly pillow was a necessary expense. More importantly, nice look, Rokuko. You really put your all into dressing up today, huh? Hee hee, of course. Honestly, I'm surprised you noticed. How could I not? I mean, she's in her princess knight mode. And, just so you know, Rokuko, you're not gonna be fighting. I really hope that sword on your hip is just for show. But really, that's no fair. I want something too, Kaima. We still have a lot of DP left, don't we? I mean, I left that DP as an emergency stock in case something happens. What, do you want me to summon 10,000 DP worth of goblins for you? Why goblins? I don't like them that much. Alright. And just so you know, I'm planning on giving up my absolute authority after this dungeon battle is over. I had decided to get rid of my absolute authority after the battle was over since I needed it now to make sure she didn't mess up my more detailed instructions. Are you fine with that? Hey, we're partners in body and soul. I'd like us to treat each other as equals. Partners. Why yeah, that's right. Dungeon cores and masters are spiritually connected and stuff. Yep. And that's why I'm counting on you right now. But not ordering you around. Leave it to me. I'll do my best. Rokuko smiled brightly and looked so happy. Just after a second we got a video transmission from Haku, aka core number 89. Can you hear me, number 695? Sister. Yes, I can hear you. I'm so happy I get to see you again. An adorable voice came out from the menu, causing Haku to smile. This time, Rokuko was wearing a cute set of dress armor. She looked so cute in it that Haku wanted to seek her out on the battlefield to capture her. Haku found herself lovingly absorbed in Rokuko's angelic, cute smile that was dripping with clear enthusiasm for her first dungeon battle. This little cutie would surely start to cry with tears and snot dirtying her beautiful face if Haku were to mercilessly attack her as planned. Hot. Very hot. But I must take care to not go too far and make her hate me, thought Haku. Fufu. I hope I'm not rushing you, but are you ready to begin? Aha! Very well. Dungeon battle, start. Haku's words marked the beginning of battle. The moment she finished speaking, a gate appeared near the entrance to her dungeon. It was large enough for a platoon of knights to pass through easily, and on the other side awaited the ordinary caves golems. I see. Golems certainly are a good choice for an army's vanguard. Clay golems in particular are cheap and therefore easy to gather in large groups. Not only that, but since golems could move for essentially no cost thanks to free mana from the dungeon, they had the least upkeep necessary out of any monster. However, despite being offensively and defensively powerful, they were slow. Please attack with the lizardmen. Lizardmen, attack! Both armies charged towards the gate. Haku, determining that the golems would simply crush her goblins, prioritized attacking them with her lizardmen. The goblins would mainly work as scouts to help with conquering the dungeon itself. Losing them early on the battlefield would be a tactical failure. The lizardmen leaped through the gate and swung their blades at the golems. Many of them were hit directly and collapsed onto the ground, bodies broken, but the majority of them won with speed and damaged the golems effectively. But nonetheless, many golems slipped past them and invaded the ivory proving grounds. How are the preparations proceeding, Chloe? Without issue, my lady. The ivory proving grounds was a branch dungeon of the capital's ivory labyrinth. It had suddenly appeared a short distance away from the capital itself. Of course, it was in truth a dungeon, that dungeon core number 89. That Haku had prepared for her dungeon battle with Rokuko. It had been named by Haku herself. She planned to register the dungeon under that name to the Adventurers Guild. It was a dungeon with 5 floors in total, dug out using 50,000 DP. Minotaurs wandered its halls and traps were placed everywhere, with loaded crossbows hidden and spears prepared to fly out of holes in the floors and walls. There were even lizardmen placed about. And among those monsters, many of them held enchanted weapons which would cost 10,000 DP each. That's right. Multiple monsters. By the way, Chloe, I feel as if many weapons are missing from my armory. Do you know anything about this? I would guess that the 17th Night Platoon stole from it before leaving. Yet another crime they have committed against us. I see. There's no helping that, then. I feel as if I've seen the axe that Minotaur over there is holding before, but it must be something else entirely. Indeed, that axe is actually quite common. Oh my, it seems that lizard men have gotten into our dungeon. There was a lizard man nest around this area to begin with. But that has nothing to do with us, does it? Indeed it does not. We are not responsible for native creatures inhabiting our dungeon on their own. Their dungeon had been prepared using more than 100,000 DP, and their conversation revealed how that was done. Of course, they hadn't broken the rule about not using more than a set amount of DP. What they were doing was completely legal. As for the 7th Night Platoon, whose members now faced even more false charges, let us pray for them. The Ivory Proving Grounds, despite being a freshly made dungeon, was already difficult enough to pose immense danger for beginning adventurers. Even a party of C-rank adventurers would struggle to conquer it. If you included the army of monsters waiting by the entrance for war to begin, the dungeon's difficulty would increase even further, all the way to B rank. The attacking force alone was 15 Minotaurs, 3,000 DP, 50 Lizardmen, 150 DP, and 100 Goblins, 20 DP. All of those monsters were favored by Haku for how balanced their strength was with their DP cost. Perhaps out of the goodness of her heart, or perhaps to avoid suspicion, none of the monsters in the attacking force wielded enchanted weapons. Haku had brought her 5 retainers, including Chloe, into her master room to assist with the dungeon battle. It's a bit late to be doing this now, but the Ivory Proving Grounds military leadership was as follows: Amelia, Alania in charge of defense. Dolce, a wraith in charge of managing intelligence such as troop casualty statistics. Sally, a living armor in charge of combat and battles. Misha, a work-cat in charge of offensive reconnaissance. And finally Chloe the succubus, who supported Haku in any way necessary. Haku herself served as a unified leader that gave orders to each retainer, and took care of the general decision-making. The enemy has invaded our dungeon! Alania was looking at the map and reporting the movements of the enemy army. She was one of Haku's most trusted retainers. There are around 200 invaders? The retainers all shook in fear after hearing Dolce's report. No way! I can't have let that many past. I didn't even see that many of Golem, but it definitely says 200 here. But still there weren't 200 golems. They aren't golems. They are gray rats. Gray rats? You mean they are not even monsters? And that's it for this chapter, guys. I was sick, so I wasn't able to make any videos. I am sorry for that. I will try to get back on my regular schedule as soon as possible. And I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe, and we will meet you in the next one. Peace.